We are live on YouTube. Let me start recording on my end real quick. Record on this computer. This is Male Entrepreneur Podcast, episode number 159. And we are live in 3, 2. All right, welcome back to the Male Entrepreneur Podcast, the podcast for men who win, with your host, Purdeep Sangha. Purdeep, how you doing today, man?
Sorry, man. I can't help but crack up, but that's just an awesome intro. You got so much energy there that gets me going.
I was trying to do the maybe a MMA referee or like a World Wrestling Federation referee.
Yeah, I was almost like, yeah, I'll rip off my blazer and my shirt here. Let's get going.
Nice. So it is, as we're recording this, it is coming up on the end of the first quarter of 2021. I can't believe with how much 2020 just seemed to go on forever and ever and ever and drag on. And now that we're in 2021, you sent me the show notes and I was like, holy crap, we're already at the end of the first quarter. That hit me a lot faster than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, I know, man. We're almost 3 months into it already. This is just crazy. Time is flying. So I think it's important. I thought it was timely to have this conversation to say, okay, how were the previous 3 months? And do some evaluation, because this kind of aligns with the business calendar. We go off quarterly basis, but I think if you align your life that way too, it actually helps quite a bit to do a personal evaluation every quarter.
So I'm going to ask you a question, actually. I don't really do personal evaluation. I definitely do the business thing, but I mean, I'm kind of like introspective, and I examine and I look at how my relationships are going, and I look at, am I doing the things but I don't do it on a schedule. I just kind of, it's one of those things that maybe is running in the background, but you suggest, or maybe do for yourself, you actually do this on a schedule, like a quarterly schedule?
Yeah, I actually do it a mini one every day, and that's what I kind of train my guys to do too, is mini, and it's just based on 3 simple principles. But then I do a more in-depth one on a quarterly basis, because that gives me the time. I'm one of those guys that I like to sit there and think, and I like to be creative, because it feels good and it gives me solutions. I think the more we do this, the more we reflect, the easier it is to actually move forward in life. And the challenge is when we don't reflect, we don't know what we're actually doing well in and what we're not doing well in. And therefore, we don't actually end up improving. So reflection is a very powerful thing to take a look and say, just, it's simple. What are we doing well in? Or what am I doing well in? What am I not doing not so well in? And we do it in 3 particular categories. And this is a framework that I built the book around, was performance, achievement, and fulfillment. Because we as guys, these are the 3 fundamental things that we look at the most, right? How well do we perform, right? Because we want to be performers. We want to be high performers. What do we achieve? Because we want to hit a goal at the end of the day. There's no point in being Michael Jordan if you're not going to win a championship, right? And some of those guys, some of those athletes have felt like that, right? They've had awesome stats. They've been amazing players, but they've never won a championship. And so they feel like they're, yeah, slip of the tongue there. They haven't won a championship, so they don't feel, like they've actually accomplished something. But then there's the other element, which is the fulfillment aspect, which is, okay, how good do we feel about life? Right. And these are 3 things that I think we should do. And again, this is very timely. It's towards the end of March, the first quarter of 2021, coming out of a crappy year for a lot of people. Now it's a brand new year. How has the first quarter gone in these 3 areas?
So I want to get into this, but I also want to get your input on this. Last month, beginning of this month, one of my clients flew me out to Columbus, Ohio, and he had recently bought a new property, and we were going through and looking at his business, looking at his internet marketing and how it could be improved. And while we were out there, a lot of the guys in my mastermind are also out on the East Coast. So we had a bunch of the guys from the mastermind come up, and we went out to dinner, and we were talking about different things. And one of the things that came up that was kind of a common theme amongst most of us was that 2020 was speaking for myself, I almost went on autopilot. I got hit hard at the beginning of the year, and I didn't want to just completely lay down and roll over, but I also didn't have the mental or even the physical energy to bounce back. And I think that fear and maybe um the getting hit so hard early in the year with my business, it hurt me, and it kind of made me afraid to bounce
Mhm.
back maybe. But I was talking with other guys in the mastermind, and they were all saying, not all of them, but most of them said that they pretty much wrote off 2020 about this time, right? A quarter into the year, they said, okay, 2020 is going to be a loss for me. And one of the main themes of our dinner that night was talking about how we're realizing we just let the whole year go by
Mm.
and didn't do the things that we wanted to do, and how now we're like, okay, we need to get back on track. How common is that? You work with a lot of guys, you talk to a lot of guys out there. How common is that? And what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, it's very common. And it challenges all of us because we have to be intentional. And time can fly by quick, as we know, right? 3 months already gone. And so, daily reflection, as I mentioned, is very important. It is important to do it at least minimally quarterly, because it's important. Because if we don't reflect, how are we going to know when to actually change? When you talk about people actually writing off 2020, I know a lot of people that did that. And my clients, the guys that I worked with, I forced them not to. I said, do not ever say that to me again. Because if you say that, then I'm going to stop working with you, because there's no point. If you're writing it off, what's the point of me being here and working with you throughout this time period? So, and a lot of them actually did better than they did before, right? Some of them even shifted their businesses completely, and took their unprofitable businesses, closed them down, and actually started new profitable businesses. So these things are important. If you say you're going to lose before the race itself, you're going to lose. There's a common saying by Lao Tzu, right? That talks about the warrior. I can't remember the exact words, but I'm going to paraphrase it, because if you listen to the exact words, it's actually very powerful. Um, to be a winning warrior, you have to win in your mind first and then go to battle.
Mhm.
And it works in the same way in life. 20, mentally stronger. I improved my skills. I wrote my book. I did all these kinds of things, and I did it. I'm not saying this, wow, look at me. It's because I was purposeful. Because I said I could take this crappy year and I can make the best out of it, or I could just ride the wave. And I wasn't willing to ride the wave. So I did the complete opposite. I said, how do I take this adversity and actually make it and use it? And so I think this is something I would say for people right now, is use it to your advantage. Even if your business isn't going completely well, here's the one thing you can work on is yourself. Is yourself. You can improve your skills. And that's the first element that I talk about, performance. Is if you improve your performance, find something that you're not so good at, for example, and you say, well, you know what, I'm going to improve on this. And I think this is something important, because we find fulfillment at the end of the day, not necessarily by what we accomplish, but by who we have become. And so for people in 2020, they should be asking themselves, who did I become by the end of the year? Was I someone that was more skilled, more optimistic, better set up for the following year? Or was I someone that kind of retracted a little bit? And I think a lot of people retracted. And again, I don't blame them. But when you have that attitude of saying, I came out better as a person, doesn't matter what your business results are. It doesn't matter, if you lost clients or whatever that is, at least you feel good about yourself. And that's ultimately what life comes down to, is who you are as a person. Because it's so easy for us to lose so much of the material things. Like our businesses, regardless of, can all be shut down in some way. Like, a new competitor can come in and shut your business down in a couple of years. We've seen that happen over and over again now. So you don't have full control over that, but what you can say is, at least I did my best, right? And I think that's ultimately what we need to come down to, is to be able to say I did my best, or at least I tried, right? These are the elements. So performance is the first aspect, and that is with in yourself, right? Find those areas. And this is why I'm saying for 20, this is more find yourself as an individual that you want to perform better in. Maybe it's having better relationships or stronger relationships. Maybe it's being a better salesperson. Maybe it's something within you that you want to improve. That's what you should be focused on first.
So I'm not even sure where to go from there. I know you harp on these things, and not in a negative way, but these are the things that you really drive on, is performance, achievement, and fulfillment. Um, as far as as far as how the first two lead to the last one, how performance and achievement help bring fulfillment, I kind of wanted to get your take on that.
Yeah, and here's the important thing. So a lot of people will bounce in between performance and achievement, right? They end up performing, they end up achieving, they go back to performance because they have a bigger target, they have a bigger goal, but they never take the time to actually be fulfilled. That is the biggest element. Where do you get the most fulfillment from in life? It is honestly not from the things you actually achieve, which is funny enough, right? And we see this when guys win championships, as I talked about before. Well, they've won one championship, so they feel good. But now it's like, I want to win two championships, right? I want to be the guy that gets three in a row, right? And so it just continues to grow and it continues to climb. And when you go for achievement, you can never have enough achievement. It's just not possible. But here's again going back to what I talked about for fulfillment. If you really want to be fulfilled in life, focus on yourself. And I know that sounds like a selfish thing to say, but focus on yourself in terms of the person you become, the man you become, because you will always have fulfillment if you feel complete about yourself as a person, as a man. Doesn't matter. And I'm saying this personally myself is I'm not perfect by any means. I'm far from it. And but I can tell you that I can lose money, I can lose things, I can have a crappy year in business, whatever it is, and I can still feel good about life. And I think that's ultimately what it comes down to, is I can be fulfilled with myself because either I've learned from it and I've said, okay, I've screwed up on this, but at least I've learned from it. I'm not going to make the same mistakes twice. And as a result of learning from it, now I can say, what am I weak in? Or what am I not so strong in? And how can I build that skill? This is where true fulfillment comes from, because when you compare yourself as a person from a year ago, you can see that growth. And I think people, what ended up happening in 2020 was people weren't fulfilled because they didn't see that growth in themselves. There's that falseness of achievement, right? It is an illusion when you're trying to achieve more money, when you're trying to achieve a bigger house, whatever that looks like. What's real is the person you are, because that can never be taken away from you, that can never be questioned.
I think also, and this is kind of at the heart of like Buddhist teaching, which is a lot of unhappiness comes from, we set these expectations and then we want the world to be this way, and when the world isn't that way, then we get angry. And let's face it, nobody expected or wanted 2020 to be the way that 2020 was. um and so a lot of people were probably, I guess maybe I'm projecting, but for myself, after coming off of 2019, where the economy was great, where my business was doing amazing, where all of my clients' businesses were doing amazing, and then hitting 2020, where I had these expectations of, man, 2019 was awesome, 2020 is going to be even better. And then all of a sudden, what I wanted and what I expected versus what actually happened, uh, a big contrast, and really took the wind out of my sails personally, and caused a lot of frustration, caused a lot of even anger. I found myself being very angry during 2020 at how unaligned what happened was with what I wanted to happen. And I know that I know I'm not the only one that was dealing with that. So you're shaking your head over there. I want to know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, you said one word there that I think is very powerful. You said unaligned, and alignment is the most important thing. And if anybody wants to take, if you take anything out of this conversation, it really comes down to that. The performance, when I talk about performance, achievement, and fulfillment, those three frameworks, they have to be aligned. When they are aligned, you actually get what you want out of life. You actually feel great about yourself. But a lot of people aren't aligned. And I think that's ultimately what it is. And this is, again, I'm going to say, it's going to sound cliche, but if you align yourself to a physical or a materialistic target, you're always going to be bumped off track. But if you align yourself with the type of person you want to become, right? If you have that goal, I want to become this person, you will always follow that path, because it's not about materialism. It's about who you are and what you're learning and your skills that you're developing. So, long story short, I think that was absolutely brilliant, Nathan, is people felt like they were bumped off the track last year and totally misaligned with their goal. That's what led them to feeling that way. And I think that's where 2021 can be different, is you may have to readjust your goal, right? Or you may have to readjust your path to your goal. But the most important thing I can say is to get yourself aligned so that you are in alignment of the goal that you actually want. And sometimes that takes a tough a pill to swallow as well, right? There's some people, I can't say this. Some people lost their businesses overnight. Restaurants, for example. It's a tough business. It's a tough pill to swallow. But sometimes the faster you swallow it, the faster you get back on track, right?
So I'm going to switch directions on you just a little bit. In my business, I struggled on social media a couple times. I had to check myself and be like, oh, you're being the guy that comes into the room and negativity sucks all the positivity out of the room. I had to, like, a couple of times I looked at posts that I posted and I was like, man, if you were at a party and you walked in with that attitude, everybody would like leave the room. Why are you doing this? You're sabotaging yourself. You're sabotaging your brand. But in my personal life, especially with raising Isabella, I feel like I did really good. I feel like I kept a positive attitude for her. I feel like I did everything I could to make sure that she didn't have more negativity coming from me than was already going on in her world. And I was trying to inspire her and encourage her. And I'm sure I slipped up once or twice, but overall, throughout the whole year, I felt like it was probably my best year as a mentor and as a father. And um, it was just weird now that I'm looking back. I mean, this is all about recapping the first quarter, but I'm kind of looking back at the whole year. I'm wondering why I was able to hold it together for her, but not so much for my own business and for my own clients.
Well, let me ask you, because from on the personal side, you know what the ramifications are, right? And you know what the impact is long term, because it's someone's life. But here's what I would say on the business side. A lot of that, what was, if we take a look at what was being fed last year and what people were scooping up and just chowing down, was negativity.
Mhm.
It's honestly, that's what sold last year. Fear sold last year.
Mhm.
Fear was a number one selling ticket out there, and everybody jumped on it. CNN jumped on it, Fox News jumped on it, even local TV channels jumped on it, newspapers jumped on it, people jumped on it. That's what sold, right? This is a different year. This is a different time. And when it's your personal life, negativity doesn't. And here's what I said, like with your daughter, for example, you're a good person at heart. I know that. Everybody who knows you knows that, right? Business is just a different game. Unfortunately, it is a different game. And I think that's why, let's have an open and transparent conversation about this, because I think this is important. I think what has happened is, because we know how people think, for example, in the marketing world, it's easy to take advantage of that, and it's easy to ride the wave, right? And I rode the wave to a certain degree too, and this is something that I had to take a very honestly clear look at. And I said, I just don't want to be that person anymore. I just don't want to have that marketing. Took a look at it and I said, no, I'm the optimist guy, right? I'm the guy that is always optimistic. I'm always the guy in my family that says, let's be optimistic. But we all fell into that damn trap. We fell into that damn trap that people created for us. And this is why I think this topic is so important today. And I'm not going to blame anybody, but let me honestly throw this out there. Not about, it was, it has been, let's sell fear. Let's separate people based on fear. Let's do this all based on fear, because that's what people were just honestly consuming. We got to get out of that. And this starts from leadership, right? It starts from community leadership. It starts with family leadership. What you just talked about is brilliant, because you kept that positivity with your family. That is the most important thing. If we continue to do that now in our communities, we'll have people over into the too much on that, because I think that's something that the most important thing here is, let me kind of recap, is it's
I just lost you
you
completely.
can't blame yourself, whatever that looks like. You can learn from it, because oh, you still there?
Yeah, I just lost you
Are we
completely
there?
for the last like minute.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, not
Oh,
nice.
let me just sum it up then. Let me just put it somewhere. It's March. It's towards the end of March. We're getting close to the end of the first quarter. You can't blame yourself for if you haven't achieved anything for the last little bit. Whether it's 2020 you wrote off, or the beginning of 2021, that's okay. What's most important now is reflect and take a look at those three areas. And moving forward, how do you want to perform better? What do you want to achieve? And how do you want to be more fulfilled within the next 3 months? And don't, I'm saying this with an open heart, don't blame yourself. Don't go down the path of blame or negativity or guilt, because that's going to hold you back. Be optimistic. It's a new day. It's a new quarter, and you can do it.
Man, such a needed message right now, Pradeep. If people enjoyed this episode and they want to check out more, where's the best places to get more episodes of this podcast?
Well, you can check out YouTubeformen.com if you want to see us live physically, if you want to see our pretty faces, or mailpodcast.com.
Awesome. And until next time, man, we will catch you later.
Okay, till next time.
All right.